2021 to order. Just going please to have a moment of silence for the
world.
Your choice today. Yeah, your choice. What the world, you're right. Thank you. Madam Secretary.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, agenda adoption. We are going to have a 6B, which will be Robert Lane, a 6C, which will be on, can't read my own writing, cell tower, and 6D, the auto contract. Does that cover everything? Everybody get it?
McCown Street.
Yeah.
Oh, you put that under C.
We put that on consent agenda. If not, Chair will entertain a motion to adopt. All in favor, aye. Agenda is adopted with those three additions. The consent agenda, we have an addition today to close McCown Street this weekend from 9:25. Chair will entertain a motion to adopt. All in favor, aye. All opposed likewise, motion carries. Okay, 6, missing 40 discussion. Zach?
So what you have in front of you is going to be basically what we put together the last time we did this, which was 2010. But there is the public notice lease account property. William says that these 40 acres that's in Township of Saluda, County of Polk, that's partly in the Green River Township and County of Henderson, which is owned by you. Basically, it's called the Missing 40. We have to advertise it for a month.
One time, at least 30 days prior.
One time at least 30 days prior to when you take the vote on whether or not you're going to lease it. So if you are in favor of leasing this property, which the following page is the resolution authorizing the lease, which would be updated for the next time you meet, that says that. That's $10, I believe, is what you asked for last time for those 40 acres. So if you would like to do it, we can get it advertised.
Shall we entertain a motion to that effect?
That we made the advertisement.
The advertising.
No, we would, if you're interested in doing this, you would instruct us and then we advertise it.
So I don't need a motion for that.
I would. Could I ask a question? I think we should have a more in-depth discussion about the possibilities later in the missing 40 and how it might benefit our citizens as opposed to leasing it for $10 for the next 10 years.
Do you want me to,
I'll let you finish, but table it for, discuss it more next work
The
session.
next work session.
I'll get everything I can on it and bring it back next week, or next month.
And look and see if you can find that, agreement that we have that.
I'll see if you can.
It's part of the file.
Okay, so, you've seen it? Yeah.
Okay, 6B, Robert.
Yes. You all have some things in front of you. I appreciate that you guys have given me the task of establishing a team to reinvigorate the Historic Preservation Commission. And as you know, that was initially done in 2010, and it's been dormant since shortly thereafter there. there's really no foundation to work from at this point. We're basically starting from scratch in terms of procedures, guidelines, standards, et cetera. And I don't know how much y'all have been involved in historic preservation and boards of architectural review, but this is not an inconsequential undertaking. So, accordingly, I felt we needed a pretty robust team of individuals with different skill sets and capabilities. And so I pulled together some architectural expertise, some organizational expertise, some historical expertise, most importantly, with an appreciation and understanding of the cultural and historic fabric of our community. And very notably, the unique and somewhat eclectic character of our residents. I think many of the problems with historical preservation commissions are they're too strict and they've got too many guidelines, and I'm not sure we have to evaluate just how strict we can be and an understanding of what our citizens are as well as the history. So in front of you, you've got my recommendations for the team, which would include myself, and you guys appointed me chairman in February 2020, something I see to be an acting role until the team as a whole meets and determines who the officer should be. Additional members are Nancy Gray, who submitted an application last time, lives over in Lincourt. She has 30 plus years of working with museums and historical groups. She was on the New Bern Historical Preservation Commission for 6 years. She's got a very good understanding of the laws and the regulations and the people in the state that are involved that we'll need to interface with. So I've recommended her for a 2-year term, which is what she requested. I need to, per the ordinance that's currently intact and the one that I'm proposing, they need to stagger so no more than 2 people at a time come off. So I've just selected these terms appropriately. Second is Dean Tracus, who, as you know, was the chairman previously, and he's one of the he has limited time, but he is seriously one of the most knowledgeable architectural historians in the town, and add a lot on the technical nature. Let me step back a little bit. Nancy, I see contributing a great deal in terms of helping us get all policy procedures in place and making sure that we're adhering to the appropriate state and local ordinances and other things. Dean, I see as a consultant to contribute his basic knowledge on the architecture and the history. Julia, I'm recommending him for a 3-year term with reappointment permitted. Julia Calhoun, you all know, she's our 3rd generation Trionite and is very immersed in the history of the town and the culture of the town and how it's evolved over the years, which is going to be critically important to us. Recommended her for a 3-year term as well. David Whalen, who also was on the original HPC, is an engineer with an architectural engineer with extensive experience on working with historical properties and dealing with historical review boards and preservation offices. Okay, recommending him for a 2-year term. So with that, we would all need to begin the process. Are there any questions on the individuals or the composition as a whole?
I would suggest that you add the caveat that in the initial board and subsequently, if your board so desires, that the outgoing members are allowed to have a second term. Just for the flow.
Okay, I'm not sure how that works procedurally, but.
Well, they have to be confirmed again
Mhm.
by the commission.
Okay, so they
For
have
a
to.
second term, if they desire.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Okay. Do you need to vote on that?
Chairman, do we have a motion to adopt the recommendation? All in favor, aye? All opposed likewise, motion carries. Get to work.
Well, I've got a few other things, you're not getting rid of that quickly. Okay, as I mentioned, the officers will be determined at the first meeting, and there are three things in particular I want to bring to your attention. One is the current town ordinance was adopted in 2010. The state has since given a new recommendation for an ordinance for HPC, which is far more detailed in a lot of ways and covers, it's evolved basically, it's evolved very nicely. And I would, you each have the current and the proposed one in front of you. The only modification I would have on those would be that would be 5 members instead of 7 as they have on here, and the terms would be 3 years instead of 4 years as they have recommended here. But other than that, I'm not sure what your process is to review that and change the ordinance, if you want to do that at all. It will put us more in line with the state.
You need to do an ordinance amendment to repeal what's here now
Well, we're gonna have to adjust.
Well,
and adopt something new similar to this.
if we're doing something new, do we not need to advertise that since we're changing some type of ordinance to do it?
This is not a land use, well, let me think, is this under,
Some of it should be, because I think.
I think we'll have to have a public hearing, I'll double check that, because it is under authority, I think, of the new 160B now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is 160D will come in the guidelines here.
Yeah, yes.
We can operate under the current ordinance until that's done, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, you got till what, December now? When's that day?
What, till 160D kicks in? It's already kicked in, but
Or what am I thinking of?
you're thinking of comp plan.
Okay, yeah. All
But
right.
I mean, well, to add on to that, we're eyeballing a whole bunch of different text amendments, so we can add those in as needed, because we're gonna do that soon, but I'll get to that later. Anyway,
Okay, with this, what you're doing, do we need to have a meeting at the same time?
yeah, I can put all these items for the text amendments, and you can go over
When
all
will
at
you be
once.
ready for the public hearing?
Yeah, we have to notify, and
Yeah, but when will you be ready for it?
I'm really trying to get my board to adopt or to have something in front of my board in the October meeting, so that'll be.
the planning board has to make a recommendation.
October or November?
Yeah. I will. Yeah.
October or November?
I'm trying for October.
Okay.
Okay,
Rob?
the 2 other items I have is one I want to update, just give you a quick brief on what our initial priorities are, and then some support that I just want to make sure you guys are aware of. So first thing we need to do is establish our rules, procedures, bylaws. We need to do an initial inventory of defining on properties and determine studies necessary to have a robust understanding of the historical aspects and architecture or culture of the town. We need to establish relationships and coordination with the state historic agencies, a draft outline of protocol for evaluation and historic preservation, determine the path to certified local government, which would be several years, a 2 or 3 year process. Determine the necessary committees and responsibilities, and we'll draft up a 3 to 6 month work plan. In terms of what I need from the council, and I'm sure this is all pretty standard. First of all, whatever limited administrative support you normally give boards of this type for our meetings. And supposed to continue priority access to surveys, other property inventories, as well as historical records as necessary. A commitment from the board for expedited legal and administrative reviews so we can get some of this done quickly. There's possible occasional intervention or contact with state, and it's probably mostly use act state or county commissions on our behalf. And very importantly, more in the longer term, is understanding of and preparation for the potential community reactions as our guidelines are publicly discussed and implemented. Because I think, as we all know, these things may end up getting rather emotional as potential restrictions and things like that are put in place. So I just want you to be aware that that's going to be coming down the road.
Bottom line is all that change comes through, we either approve or don't approve. So whatever we approve, we need to be prepared to accept whatever comes with it.
Yes, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. That's all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
for taking this on. It's a massive task.
The chair
But
needs,
it's one that will benefit citizens.
I think so too.
we need to appoint, choose next meeting.
I'd like to be out regular, at least for the next 6 months, to update you
I'm
guys.
talking about for the public hearing.
If this is pretty much ready to go, if the changes look good and everything, I'll just go ahead and, and make it this happen next meeting. This other stuff I'll try to, get in, but since this looks like it's already cooking in the oven, then, I'll definitely get this in for next meeting. And we'll just do the other stuff if I don't get to it in November.
Get with me, tell them, we'll just make sure we get it advertised twice, get the,
Motion to set a public hearing for the next board meeting, 7 o'clock. So moved. All in favor, aye? Opposed likewise? Does that cover everything we need at this point?
yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. 6C, the trial.
So what you have in front of you are engineering plans. They're not to scale, not for construction, but from Kimley Horn regarding the cell phone tower. You directed me during the work session to put these into a PDF on the website, push them out through Nixle, but basically, this is kind of outlining the general concept of the tower. What we've been told, Verizon would like to offer us around $700 a month to rent this, would be around $6 a year. I did specify earlier that Hendersonville's getting like $5 grand a year, and it's not like it used to be, but depending on how you guys want to go, we can kind of work. They were supposed to get me some stuff today, I haven't gotten it. We would like to kind of put this on your radar because they are going to be putting some stuff in soon.
We'll do the public hearing next meeting.
So regarding that, that's another one of the rewrites or one of the modifications we have to do. I talked to William about the procedure of this and looked at some other towns, and it was our understanding that some things needed to be addressed in the procedural adoption of this. So that's what I'm also trying to get in on the next meeting. I'm trying to fast track that one.
It's unclear, it's that little ambiguous in the current ordinance that it's the board of adjustment, right? The board of adjustment is who approves, provides the land use approval for this. What's unclear is the type of permit it is. It looks like it was to be a special use permit process. Because it's gotta be, it's advertised, I mean, but it just doesn't say that's what it is, it's odd. It needs to be tweaked to make clear that it is a special use permit issued by the Board of Adjustment. That's gonna require a minor amendment to the text of the zoning ordinance.
I have a structural question, please. It doesn't require an answer tonight, but I would like one next meeting. The present proposal offers a 195-foot tower. Do you have any idea what the height of the tree line is there?
Do not.
That is important from a geometric standpoint to understand how far up in the air
Oh, it's
this pole, disguised or not, will hang. And this is my real question. Does it really have to be 195
But they're putting this in right below the plant, physically, between the pond and the plant,
Below the pond.
below the pond.
It's,
Well,
That's
the
a
top
little-
of that tower is probably not gonna be much higher than
The
the
one top of the
water
water
tank at the top of the hill.
Which is good.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to cover the dead area that we're all living in.
But I'll find out the answer on that. I do know that from our discussions, we've met with them multiple times. We've met with engineers and all sorts of people, but one thing they did say, their initial drive-through is coming up Glengarnock at the angle, everything else. It'll be up there if you're looking for it, but the terrain, you're not gonna notice it unless you're coming down the mountain.
They'll be able to get service if they call and complain about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Boy, we like to have a Christmas tree out.
I mean, I'll climb up
This
there.
is probably gonna be a single hole, but that's all right.
Well, we asked them to disguise it.
We did ask them, what they have in front of you is not disguised on the 4th page. We've asked them, they say they may be able to make it happen, but that's gonna, according to them, and Tim can relay what he said, but when they have to disguise it, the engineering costs for them almost double. So that,
Green paint.
I'll ask them.
Because surely they have a file.
Well, when they disguise them, they have to put up actually a bigger tower with more cables because they're putting more sail mass up top. Well, I saw one, we were looking at in West Virginia, and it was some 2 miles across the valley, and I'm going, was that a sail? And they tried to make it look like a tree, and it just didn't.
You can still tell it's a tower.
You knew it was a tower.
Some are better than
Yeah.
But to go back to my question, we need a public hearing on this at some point. Can we do this in October also?
Well, we will do the text amendment to shore up the procedure, and then I assume we'll then vote on it. I don't think we can adopt a text amendment and this is the same night, can we? Don't we have to wait?
I mean, after the amendment,
What I'm
The
trying to
planning board
figure out,
make-
William, is to make sure that the public knows
Yes.
before we vote on it.
yes, I mean,
Looks like, you know,
The changes
I've
to the
already been
ordinance-
called, but we're not trying to do
the
this.
changes to the ordinance in and of themselves, they're gonna be minor, the planning board will have to make a recommendation, and then it would be appropriate to have a public hearing on the changes. It has nothing to do with the tower, this tower, I mean, it's
We've
just,
already got that scheduled
so,
up here. But when do we have a public hearing dealing with this tower?
If Tim takes,
you won't, I mean, it'll be in front of the Board of Adjustment, that's the way it's set up.
So the new.
Unless you want it to be under your purview, it'll be that would be a more in-depth text amendment.
There are a lot of people talking about this tower. A lot of people. Take that under advisement.
I'm getting nothing but positive. I mean, people about, they're all jittery about us getting cell service here in town.
For whatever reason, your ordinance is set up to where the Board of Adjustment makes the decision on towers. If you would like it to be
No, I
the
get
board.
that, but if they advertise it or whatever, I just want to make sure that the public is aware there's a chance for them to come and do input.
Yes, there
How
will
would we
be,
have to do that?
Absolutely.
There will be, but first we need to tweak the ordinance, so that's gonna be in probably November at the earliest then.
No, I mean, I'm hoping to get October meeting.
I mean, for the ordinance changes,
Yeah, October.
yes, but not.
But then the actual, the voting and adoption of the tower itself will be November then.
That's right.
Yeah.
It'll be the same 2 announcements in the paper, just like we were just talking about for the public hearing you guys are holding.
do you want us to put something out, Mayor, to say we're having a meeting on the tower in
Yes.
October regardless of?
Yes.
I'll do that. I'll get that. We may have to move to the fire department, we may all get yelled at, but I will get that done, okay?
We'll get yelled at by half the people.
What's the purpose of that?
The ones who got good cell service, yeah.
Just the informational?
Just what he wants some information.
Okay.
Just whatever it is, and whether we're involved or whether they're involved, I don't care. Just as long as the people realize we're making some changes so we can put up a cell tower. That's, And the general public knows that. And they can't come back and, well, y'all didn't tell anybody. Obviously, they know, because they're calling 2 or 3 hours.
Definitely get that out.
Yeah, we'll put it out on the next one. I think.
Speaking of which, this is just for my own information. Do we have an alpha list of every citizen in the town of Triumph?
Are you talking about with the Nixon address? Or are you just talking about people? A lot of people have not turned in the stuff. We have a whole bunch of people. We don't have everybody.
But do we have a alpha list with nothing other than the name?
Citizens you're talking about,
And a single-
voting citizens, yeah.
We have,
And children.
we can't do water because water is not public record, but taxes are. We can print off property owners' property.
You gotta remember this year, we've got a ton of people with approved just trying alone.
Yeah. That seems to me, if people were to give email addresses, the easiest mode of massive dissemination of information.
We try to sign people up for Nixle all the time, every chance we get.
Yeah, but that's slightly different. Because sometimes you just want to send them some happy news.
Yeah. Well, we can,
Achievements or something.
yeah. Okay, so Tim, if you work on that, William, if you coordinate with him, Mayor, I'll put something out. We'll have a non-official public hearing. We'll just have a public meeting, input, stuff like that.
Okay.
And Tim, this tower doesn't have lights on it. It's
It
under
does
that-
not because it's under FAA, it's
Yeah.
below the
It's
FAA
below the
standard.
200-foot line. Yeah.
That's the first 2 questions I got, and I said, no.
And that's, I had somebody who lived above it say something, I said, look, you won't see it, if you do, it's gonna be a gray stick up in the air in the fall. And I said, you don't have cell service, and he goes, Verizon?
And the provisions are to add 2 more carriers if they so want to add 2 more carriers to it, so.
Do you get more money if they have other carriers?
I think that's under Verizon's purview, but more signal is good signal, I guess.
Okay. 6B, audit contract.
So this is the LGC 205. We've already completed it, already signed it. We've already got a contract, but we need you to approve it every year in which we're under that contract. So if you can go ahead and vote to approve this LGC 205, we can submit it to the LGC.
Entertain a motion to adopt LGC 205, you said?
Yes, sir.
I missed them.
Audit. The thing we already signed.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor, aye? Opposed likewise, motion carries. Item 7, wage discussion.
One thing that was brought up was wages for town trial employees. We do have 6 who are under the $15 an hour proposal. We've discussed lifting those to 15. Some will be lifted smaller than others, obviously, but just get everyone at a minimum 15 an hour. As long as you've been here over a year, and then that hit to our payroll would be around 21,000. Kick everything else in. We can make it happen this year in the operating budget if you want to forego some of the monies we have with kudzu. We use the rest to fulfill part of that program. But basically, we can make it happen. It was requested to be discussed, and we have spoken with our fire department because the way their hours are, they work 4 hours, they seem to be a lot lower. So we had the discussion and explained to them that the amount of money they make is different. It's not hourly, you take the annual salary and look at it. So we explained to them, so everyone knows, but basically this would be raising a regular 9 to 5, 15 an hour.
Chris, and I knew you proposed this, and I said, I don't have an objection to it. I just thought we ought to do half of it in January and half of it in the next budget year. Obviously, it's whatever the board wants. So,
I would like to, unless there are questions.
But I've been wanting it ever since I've been here, for the okay to go up, and I have, Jack and I had that conversation over
And to that end, I would like to make a motion in partnership with Commissioner Booker that we make the minimum wage $15 per hour to begin implementation on the next pay period.
We've got a motion, all those in favor, aye? All opposed likewise, motion carries. Thank you. Item 8.
Minimum housing,
Okay, the 45 Kennedy Lane, I had a hearing, the initial hearing scheduled. I had to reschedule it due to being on lockdown for a few days and they hit at the same time. So I'm going to reschedule that for the second week of October. In other planning news, we have begun the comprehensive plan process. We have actually a work session with my board tomorrow about survey questions, the initial survey that we're going to gather, and we're going to put that together and we'll present that to you guys at the next meeting for you to look at. It's just demographic questions and what people want to see in the town going forward, that kind of stuff. Also have a flood plan audit on the 29th next week. So yeah, there are some, I talked to the auditor, the floodplain ordinance needs a few tweaks as well, so that's one of the other things I'm working on, and the tower rewrite. So that's kind of what's going on in my world right now.
Item 10, TDDA.
Since Paige is speaking in front of the class tonight, I will do this. Basically, she's got her economic development report in front of you covering the Main Street 4-point approach. I'm not going to get into it like she does, but she has been very busy. I know the biggest thing she's working on obviously is branding. She's also been working directly with Main Street, applying for some grants and doing different things. Fourth Fridays have been pretty successful. We think that they will keep up. Beer Fest meetings have been going very well. They are waiting until, I think the next Beer Fest meeting will be, or maybe it was September 27th or September 28th. And they'll make the call on whether or not to hold Beer Fest. They think we're going to do it, but she also put out this week a request of all volunteers on gauging their interests, how comfortable they are, and we're going to use that information to kind of see if we can even get the volunteers. We think the numbers hopefully will drop for COVID, but you never know, so we're preparing for both, but hoping for the best.
Okay. 11, your report.
I'll take most of the questions, I'll try to keep it short. We have met with the LGC today and spoken with them previously, submitted the ASAGRA funding request. We did the work for the AIA grant. We spoke with DHEC regarding a tabletop exercise for the dam. Spoken with Dina regarding Brayway. We've had the Beer Fest meetings, worked with Arnett and Woodrow. The public works crews have been very busy. They've had several water breaks, 5 leaks, and total breaks as well. They've also been very busy keeping, well, not just this, but they've thrown into their schedule making sure that Ziegler Field is prepped every Friday. So we've been on top of that. It's been working out very well. They had the the Town of Trine versus Trine All-Star game, I guess. Maybe it's the first annual, hopefully. We'll see. They've got about 28,000 pounds of brush, 9.5 tons of asphalt thrown out, and cleaned out 800 feet of sewer line. We did have the water plant go out and do some line testing. In there, they found a leak that we estimate was probably around 20,000 gallons a month. We did get that fixed, so that's going to help our water loss a lot. It was out in Lynn, in front of the Mimosa Inn. Police have been busy as well. The Axon body cam system is completely set up now, so the taser pull, if Brandon were to pull it, it would kick on and we're good to go. So now everything that you've asked for is completed on that process. One of our officers. Philip Connor was friends with the Black Mountain firefighter that passed away, so the town staff is gonna get some stuff together to do a donation to his wife and the children that should be getting born this week or so. So we are gonna have a little fundraiser for that if you'd like to participate. Guys, we got banners up, Beer Fest, Feeding Foothills, Film Fest, everything else. We've had meetings for all of those. Tourism did have a meeting. We assigned jobs for the work plan. I did want to thank Robert Lang for stepping up and assisting with more than his fair share on that project. And the cemetery meeting, obviously, if Jerry would like to discuss the architecture stuff, thank you for that as well, because that's going to be big news. But that's all me. I'll take questions. And
Okay, tonight's order will be Bill Ingham, Chris, Bill Crowell, Sherelle, and me.
I don't have much. I'd like to thank the staff especially and our volunteers. Jerry, what's his name? Robert. I got noted forever, right?
It's
Anyway,
the mask and stuff.
That's the man, sorry about that.
Yeah. Thanks for all your help. That's all I have.
I'd like to reiterate Commissioner Ingham's thanks both to the town, staff, and our volunteers. You are what makes our community great. And I would remind you of the upcoming Triumph International Film Festival. And lastly, encourage all of our citizens to be steadfast with regard to their commitment to safety for themselves and for our citizens. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the staff for everything they do. I mean, really, we're a pretty lucky town. And that's really about it. And the volunteers that get up and do stuff in this town and make it a great place. Thank you.
Big party, thank you to everybody. Thank you for the employee raise. I really appreciate that. And everybody take care of yourselves and each other, and I think y'all are gonna be okay.
I know we all have these folks. I'm downtown almost every day, and almost every day I meet people I don't know. They're visiting here, they like here, they say how well they like here. And I'm on my second box, that's 500 of these, and I'm all third of the way through the second box, just new people giving them these cards that are showing up here. And I'd like to thank the town employees and the others for keeping us looking like we do. I've not heard one negative thing, not one. With that, thank you. Any citizen comments? Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, aye? Aye. We're adjourned.